Hi, I'm Lou, and today I'm going to replace the clutch on this 1957 Ford PowerMaster. The engine's up there, the transmission's back there, and the clutch is right here in the middle. So we need to split the tractor right where I have that red bar. I'm going to cable the engine to the end loader and use it as a hoist to roll everything out of the way. On the carburetor side of the tractor, we're splitting right here, so you're going to have to remove this, that, and that. On the other side, we're splitting right here, so we need to remove this and this. I've already taken out the battery, and we'll remove this tray to make it easier to work. Next, we need to remove the tie rod, and it's held on underneath by a nut, and these are notoriously hard to get off, so we'll get under here with a pry bar. I'm going to try to pound a wrench in there. Finally! Next, the radius arm, and this pin was held in underneath by this nut. I unscrewed it partially and then hammered it up to there. I'll slide a crescent under here to give us better grip and pry that the rest of the way out. I already got this other side free, but here's how I did it. Slide a pry bar in here and press down really hard while banging on the lower part with a hammer, and it just popped right up. Okay, with all the littler stuff out of the way, we're ready to unbolt this rail here, which goes all the way back to support the backhoe, and then this rail here, which is part of the end loader. First, we're going to block everything up with concrete blocks so nothing falls. I just added a double steel cable that goes from the loader frame under the engine and back up the other side. We'll disconnect the backhoe rails. To disconnect the loader frame, we have to pull out the pin right back there. Sorry I couldn't get that on video, but it came out super easy. Now we're ready to split the tractor, and we'll start with this little bolt right here. As the bolt comes out, you can see the split. The two main bolts that are holding the tractor together are here and on the other side, and we'll take them off with a large breaker bar. And there's a few smaller bolts like this on the sides and bottom of the engine. I jacked up the backhoe about 6 inches, which forced the transmission down and made it split from the engine on the bottom side. Well, it doesn't look like it right now. The front and back are completely disconnected. The back is leaning back on those concrete blocks, and the front, I've got the bucket blocked up on this big steel rolling tube. I think I'll just use a winch. So there's the flywheel, and the ring gear seems to be in pretty good shape. We're going to order a clutch replacement kit, which comes with this shell, the pressure plate, and the clutch disc itself. And then on the other side, that's the throwout bearing that moves when you press on the clutch, and we'll get a new one of those too. You need 5 pieces of information to make sure you get the right clutch kit. The first is the diameter of this pressure plate, and mine is 10 inches. Next is the number of splines, and I have 15. Next, you need the diameter of the spline, which is more easily measured on this side, and I'm at 1 inch. Last, we need the model number, which is over here on the bell housing, 821, and the serial number 18295. If you Google that, you'll find out this is model year 1958. Ordered a new clutch, and now we're going to put it back together. Off with the old. Far from perfect, but pretty smooth and a lot better than it was. Here's the old and new clutch, and let's do a quick autopsy. So the clutch disc itself actually is not that bad. It's got built up rust spots here, but those can easily be flaked off. The pressure plate is actually in pretty bad shape compared to a new one, and you can see the chunks of rust that came off of here are the things that are sticking on here. But the real killer is these fingers. If you can see, these are all up from the bottom of the frame. And over here, they're all touching the frame. When you push on the clutch, this throwout bearing presses on the fingers, which releases the clutch plate and disengages the engine. On the old one, these fingers were a combination of worn out and bent down such that the throwout bearing couldn't reach them and open the clutch. The kit has a new pilot bearing that rotates freely, and we're going to replace this old pilot bearing that is completely stuck. PB blaster. I'm using this pilot bearing puller, and you can see it won't quite fit, so I took out one of the pins so I can get it in one leg at a time. There it is with the pin back in. You tighten this to secure the legs, and then you use the slide hammer to knock it out. In goes the new one. Here are the old 5/16 bolts, and I broke one off getting it out. So here are the new 5/16 bolts and 1 3/8 bolt, and I tapped the hole bigger to fit it. We put the clutch disc on the plastic alignment tool and stick it in the pilot bearing. Now the new clutch assembly. I've got lock washers, thread locker, and I've torqued them all down to 15 foot-pounds. And now this can come out. Over on the transmission side, this throwout bearing really isn't in too bad a shape, but we're going to replace it with the new one. So we'll unhook these springs and pull this off. I've got it loosely sitting in a vise, and I'll tap out the inner part. And tap in the new one. Before we put it back on, it's really important to clean all the rust off this spline so that the clutch disc can move freely. Next, I'll put some Super Lube synthetic oil on there. Then back in it goes. We're already on this side. Got my winch motor mounted on the backhoe to pull it together. Chain your front wheels like this so they don't turn on you. There was a whole lot of jacking, twisting, and prodding to get this thing there, but we finally got it back together. Next, we'll adjust the clutch pedal, and we'll do that with one side of the back axle jacked up so that the wheel spins freely in neutral. The pedal should start about 7 inches off the deck, so we're a little bit high, and it should have at least 1.5 inches of free play, and we're good there. What really matters is from here down where we disengage the clutch. With the tractor in gear and the clutch engaged, I can't spin the back wheel. Proper disengagement is about 3 inches deep, and now I can spin the wheel. If I go too deep, the fingers go all the way back and grind on the clutch disc. At the other end of that bottom clutch arm, you'll find the adjustments. Loosen that to reduce your free play, and loosen that to reduce your clutch disengagement depth. After adjustment, I'm about 7 inches up top and 3 inches on the bottom. I have an inspection hole on my tractor, and you can see the pressure plate, the disc, and the flywheel. When I press down the clutch, you can see the disc released. All back together, and here we go. Now I can put the tractor in gear, but it doesn't start moving until I let off the clutch. Thanks for watching.